Five, four, three, you know the rest. Let's go. Yes, welcome to GarageBand Weekly. GarageBand Weekly? I don't care how you say it. It's cool. We'll be here for about the next 30 minutes talking all things GarageBand on the Mac, the iPad, the iPhone, and a little bit of sprinkling of mobile recording and iOS and a bunch of other things in there as well. If it's your first time here, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. We do that through tips and tricks and tutorial videos and live shows just like this one. If that's your bag and you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Like, you might as well. Subscribing's a thing you can do on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Hello to the to the folks who are watching here live. Need more coffee. To the folks who are watching here live on YouTube and on Facebook. Got my Studio Live Today mug, product placement for the win. Enjoying a coffee because it is early morning here, Monday morning here in Australia. It is going to be Sunday afternoon or evening, depending where you are in the world. But cheers. We've got a lot to get through, so I better get started. We got some news and notes. We've got some new iPads that have just been released and slash announced. iOS 14 is out there in the wild for real. Should you upgrade? Should you update? Have I? We'll find out about that. We've got a plugin of, or app of the week, a tip of the week. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on, and of course, wouldn't be a show without a bit of a rant. So we'll be ranting as well. G'day to the folks who are here live. I'm going to say hello to Jade Star, to Metallion58. Eric Washburn is here. SM Borthwick. We've got E. Birch sings and plays games. Stu Cash. Stu also has the mug. By the way, studiolivetoday.com/merch if you want to grab yourself a mug or a t-shirt. G'day, Jeff Brush. Hello to the other folks who are joining us here. I'll give folks about 1 minute to settle in and to get ready, and then we'll get right on in to the content. It's been a big weekend. We had home studio Q&A yesterday, did a happy hour in the afternoon that was a happy hour and a half by the end of it. It was a lot of fun. We did the jukebox edition again. And now I've been procrastinating a little, but this week is going to be a big Songtember week. Yes, if you're not familiar with Songtember, that's our month challenge, our Song in a Month challenge, where many of us here are creating, recording, and releasing a song in the month of September. I am about a week behind where I should be right now. So I've been juggling and trying to get things sorted. But we will get there because that's the benefit of having what I call positive time pressure, is we will get there because whatever I've done on about the 27th of this month, I'm releasing. So whether it's perfect or not, it's going out there. It's going into the wild and going to get out there. So let's jump in though, shall we? Let's get started with some of our topics of the week. So there has been some news in the last week, not specifically GarageBand related, but for GarageBand users, we have had some things going down. First of which is some new iPads. So yes, we do have two brand new iPads that have hit Apple's website. We'll take a quick look at both of these now. I'll bring them up on my screen here so you can get a squiz. First of all, we have this one here, which is the brand new iPad. Now, iPad's naming conventions are challenging to say the least, but here is the new iPad. Now, this one's replacing the iPad from 2019, which, to be honest, was pretty underwhelming. It was using the old A10 chip, had a new 10.2-inch screen, which was quite nice, and it still at least had the home button and the headphone jack, but it was a little bit underperforming. It was a good price, but a little bit underperforming. The good news is, if you're looking for a budget entry-level iPad for music production, this could be the iPad you're looking for, and we'll take a look at why. It has the A12 Bionic chip, as opposed to the A10, which was in the old one, which already makes it a lot better. It is still the same price though. So it's starting at $329, going up to $559, 32 gig up to 128 gig model. And you can see there that it's that classic old iPad design. You can use the iPad Pencil, which is cool. So you can start utilizing that if that's part of your creative flow. And look, there's not really much else to say about it. It's very similar to old iPads, same sort of shape, same same sort of screen. The only difference here is you got a better processor. You got that A12 processor, which is what you're going to need. The A10 works if you're doing some basic garage banding stuff, but if, as you see here, you're going to start getting into video editing, video production, that sort of thing, higher end audio, then you may want to go with something better. So this, to me, is your perfect budget entry level. This will be what I'll be recommending, I think. When someone comes to me and says, I got $329 burning a hole in my pocket, what's the easiest way for me to get into some high quality GarageBand iPad production? I think it'll be this sucker. So this is available now. You can go away and order it now, buy it online, go to the Apple Store for those in places in the world where the Apple Stores are open, and you'll be good to go. The other new Apple that was announced, the other new iPad announced is this one. Ooh, don't you love it when they do those sideways looks? So it's like, look how thin it is, and then you scroll down and it flips around. So yes, the new iPad Air, and you'd be forgiven for thinking it's a new iPad Pro because it is almost the exact same design. Slightly different. It's got a 10.9 inch screen as opposed to the 11 inch screen on the iPad Pro because it's just got a slightly thicker bezel around the edges there. But of course, it has their gorgeous liquid retina display. There's your 10.9 inch screen there. Now, we flicked past it, but it's got featuring fast, easy, and secure Touch ID on the top button, or what we used to call a power button. Apparently power buttons don't exist anymore. But on the top button, you got your Touch ID sensor built in there. So I actually would prefer that. I don't really like the Face ID on my iPad Pro. So yeah, can we get these on iPad Pros in the future, please? So yeah, touch sensor there for Touch ID. And we continue on there. Yes, it's got the most advanced chip ever. So here's the news on this one. Yep, the A14 Bionic chip is not even available. This is the chip that's going in the iPhone 12s that we're expecting to hear announced later this year. It's not in any other device, even the iPad Pro. The iPad Pros use the A12Z or Z processor. The A14 is only in the iPad Air. And this one's coming in about a month. It says October at the moment. So we'll see exactly when the release date comes, but it'll be coming soon. Yes, you can use your pencil and you can use the $500 Magic Keyboard. And it does come in a range of colors for your color needs. Powerful, colorful, and wonderful. So the way Apple are putting these out there is that they're very much saying that the Pro is for the pros. You know, you can only get them in silver and gray. They're super serious. Then you got this one, which is for like your artsy creative types that are on the go, that want a little bit more power, but maybe I want it in sky blue. And then there's the old iPad that's just like, hey, throw this to your kids. If they break it, well, $300, you'll go buy a new one. Not quite, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's what we have. That's the arrangement that we have for iPads at the moment. Let me just go back to my notes and make sure I've covered everything I wanted to tell you about these. So the iPad 2020, yeah, big improvement on the 2019 model. The A12 is going to fly along compared to the old A10, and that 2.10 inch screen, pretty nice, pretty resilient, rugged design, headphone jack, lightning port. That's important because guess what? The Air 4, USB-C. No headphone jack. I literally had to jump in and do the AR thing just to confirm that. Like, I assumed that USB-C means they've got rid of the headphone jack. They didn't come out and say, brand new feature, the new iPad Air doesn't have a headphone jack, but we kind of knew that was coming. So now we're at the point where the iPad still has a headphone jack. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to go out there and say, this is the last newly developed device from Apple with a headphone jack. Will be the iPad 2020. The iPad Air's got rid of it now. The iPad Pro's got rid of it. If and when they make a new iPad mini, which they probably will, I think they're getting rid of it. I think the iPad mini's coming out with USB-C in 2021, and this could be the end. This could be the last iPad to actually not have a headphone jack. We're going to be losing them from here. Yes, and as Jade says, yeah, the entry-level iPad is still very competent for music creation at that price, 100%. And it's a good segue because the one final thing I'll show you here around the iPads is if you are in the market, if you want to check out, I don't have my little banner to put down there, but it's pretty easy. It's studiolivetoday.com/iPad, and you can come over here to my iPad buyer's guide. There's a couple of videos up the top there, my iPad Pro review and my best iPad for music production videos. And then I've got 3 categories here. So I've updated these just this morning. We got the best all-rounders. So I'm putting that brand new 2020 iPad 8th gen in there, the one we just looked at with the headphone jack. The iPad Pro 2nd gen, if you can pick one of those up refurbished, are still ridiculously good for the price. And again, they're still Lightning, still headphone jack. And the iPad Mini 5th gen is actually really powerful. Like, that's got a really good processor in there that flies along as well. For the budget or kids or entry level, iPad Air 2, I still have one. It still works. It's running iOS 14 now, or iPad OS 14. The iPad 2019, the 7th gen. Again, you'll be able to pick these up super cheap now. And I know I said the A10 processor underpowered, but if you're doing some basic GarageBand stuff, you'll still be fine. And you'll probably pick these up for, $150, $200 now that the new one's out. And the iPad Mini 4 is still a good option, still runs the latest iPad OS. And then your performance, your power is your iPad Air 2020 or your iPad Pro 2018 or 2020. You can click those, and if you look in the market, you can buy a new or refurbished one through Amazon or eBay that way. And I have indeed updated my PDF document here. Hopefully, yes, I have. Yep, there it is. It's uploaded the latest version. So I've showed this before. Well, that's a bit too zoomed. But what we have here is all of the different models. A bit hard to see on the screen here. I can't get my zoom right. Oh, great zooming. Well done, Google Chrome. We'll zoom with the button here instead of my mouse wheel. So you can see we've got every model of iPad down the left-hand side, all the different features, and all of the things you need to know. So if you are comparing different models, you can go ahead and use that, and hopefully it will help you out. We'll have a quick sip of coffee, and then we'll jump into our next topic. I know that was a lot, but I've been a bit excited because there's been nothing GarageBand related or even adjacent in the news for quite a while. So when Apple have announced these things, it's made it pretty cool. There you go. Jade has put the iPad guide there, so that's what you can do if you want to check it out. Yes, and we've got folks talking about the getting rid of the headphone jack. So they just need to make it thinner. That's their excuse. So, like, we don't have enough thickness for a headphone jack because 3.5mm headphone jacks are notoriously thick. Anyway, that's their prerogative. Also in the news is that iOS and iPadOS 14 have now been released. Yes, the announcement came, and part of the announcement was it's coming the very next day. So iOS 14, iPadOS 14 are out now. Should you update, upgrade? Have I? The answer to that is it depends, and no. So I mentioned before, I've updated on my iPad Air 2 just to have a bit of a play because that's now my secondary iPad. I haven't updated on my iPhone XS and my iPad Air 2020. Why? Because I'm in the middle of some pretty significant projects. And when anything new comes out, you might think, Pete, because you do this channel, you should probably be updating your stuff and, being bleeding edge and learning and taking one for the team. Yeah, that's all fine, but I'm not taking too many for the team if I can't even produce my daily videos. And because I use both my iPad and my iPhone to produce my daily videos using LumaFusion, recording my screen recording with iPad, creating music in GarageBand, it did not seem like a wise decision. And I've said this before, but if it's your daily driver, if it's something that you are relying on to use, there is no rush to update. Turn off automatic updates, give it a week or two. When will I be updating? Probably around October 2nd. After Songtember, after I've got my song finished, when I've got a little bit of breathing room and a bit of a break after all of the videos that I'm going to produce in the next week. Because imagine I update this morning and some critical app or plugin or effect doesn't work. That's part of my song. I then have to work out how to. I'm in a privileged position that I have a bunch of different iPads and iPhones. I could shift over and just replicate my workflow on an older device pretty much within about 30 minutes, but I don't want to, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's my advice to you is, and the other thing is iOS 14 and iPadOS 14 aren't adding much. iOS 13 added things like file support, and I really wanted to check that out because that was a cool thing. Dark mode, I've been hanging out for dark mode for a long time. iOS 14, iPadOS 14 aren't really adding a whole lot of anything, in my personal opinion. There's a few cool things I want to check out, I want to play around with, but nothing that's making me go, yeah, let's just update everything right now. So let me know if you want to, if you are updating. Have you updated? Have you had any issues yet? Do you expect to have issues? Hopefully not. Hopefully it all goes smoothly and everything is all okay. And thank you. Yes, I have updated, as Jade says here, over on the iPad guide. The reason reason I have a TBC in the RAM for the iPad Air is that it's not been announced. It'll probably be 4 gig because, as Jade mentions here, the Air 3 has 3 gig and the 2020 iPad has 3 gigabytes of RAM. But yeah, there's some more details to come, including the model numbers, because they haven't actually been manufactured yet. We don't know the model numbers and we don't know the amount of memory in those. And remember, memory different, so RAM is different to storage. So RAM is the memory, that's the short-term memory, that's the random access memory that's going to help speed things up. Storage is your actual file storage, where you can make sure you have enough room to store all those delicious sample packs and GarageBand project files. So there you go. Excuse me. That is the news. That is the news and views for this week. Now, I've realized something weird here is that I've put my notes in, but I don't have them in my notes, but I have put them in the description of the video. So hold the line for one moment. I need to actually jump over to the YouTube video. I'll turn the volume down so it's not going to repeat through on us. And I need to go to the description of my own video to work out what the heckaroony I'm talking about here today. Let's come in here. Alrighty. You know what? I've already covered it. I've already covered it in my rant. I'm like, oh, that was a long news section, but that's because my rant was going to be whether you should update to iOS 14 and why I haven't, which I've just told you. Now, there is if you are getting started with iOS 14, I have linked in the description a video to a Mac Rumors video with like 8 tips to get started with iOS 14. And I found it super handy and useful, so I've shared that one down in the description. If you're getting started in about 6 minutes, I'll share the 8 tips to the more interesting things like the pinned conversations and the app library and the widgets and that sort of thing. If you just want to get up and running and you want a quick and easy reference, then go ahead and check that one out. Right, if you do have a question, by the way, I didn't make this clear at the start, but do throw that here in the chat. Just put question in front and I'll know that you have a question, because I'm more than happy to jump into some quick Q&A here if anyone has anything. But a lot of folks, I think, are just chatting about what they're using and chatting about the current iPads that they have and what they're considering upgrading to if they are. But remember, I should have said this up the front, but I'll say it now. I'll say it really clear. Say it with me. Use what you have right now to create music. Getting the next bit of gear won't change things. I was using an iPad Air 2 until 6 months ago when I updated to an iPad Pro 2020. And did that revolutionize my world and completely change my music? Absolutely not. All it did was streamline my workflow. It's much quicker, and I've just got less problems like shuffling around files and waiting for things to load and optimizing performance. So yeah, it's not going to be a game changer. It's going to be incremental. It's going to be evolutionary, not revolutionary for your music at least. So yeah, keep that in mind when you are considering that. Hello to the folks who've joined us since. We've got Mike George who's here. We've got Jim, Kim, Gary Hubbs, Sion's jumped on in. Matthew Ray, thank you for being here. Tom Rochelle, not sure if I said g'day to you. Auntie G, a bunch of other folks here. Once again, if you've got questions, please do throw those here in the chat. But for now, I think we need to bring on up my iPad's gone off. My iPad said, "You've been ranting for too long, Pete. We've just turned you off, son. So I need to bring this back and mirror my iPad back over onto the screen, which means I'm going to have to close down some windows here and find where it's projecting. There it is. There's my reflector. I use an app, by the way, on the PC. Very cool app called Reflector 3, which is what lets me just really quickly and easily project my iPad screen up onto my screen here on the desktop, which if we jump over now, you'll see I now have in place. There we go. So there is my iPad Pro 2020 that we've been talking about that looks very similar to the iPad Air 4, and we can use this because we're going to jump in to a tip of the week. And I just have to go back to that video to remember what my tip of the week is. Yes, it is names. It is track naming and icons. Now, this is a tip that I don't follow as much as I should, but I'm getting into the habit of it, and I must admit it makes life a heck of a lot easier. I've mentioned it before here on the channel, but there's a couple of ways to keep your GarageBand projects in order. We'll come in here, we'll find my latest one in progress. Here's my Songtember song. By the way, can we get a better way than all these things? Like I open my project on 2 different devices, and every single time I get this weird goings on where it says, oh, it's here, and this is this version, and this is that version. So yeah, and look, I just opened it up and it's like, oh, we'll just create another version because we don't want you to be conflicted. I know it's to protect me, but I don't like it. So let's just show you really quickly how we can name. Oh, I need my keyboard here. How we can rename tracks and use icons to make things a little better. So I've already done it on a lot of these tracks here, but what we can do. Say if we've got my vocal here, it's just called lead vocals. We can actually tap right here on the icon. We can tap on rename and I can call these whatever I want. So I like to sort of abbreviate things. So I would just put something like Vox lead for that one and then hit enter. And then let's say I'm doing some backing vocals, which I am. I'm about to record some backing vocals. I can tap that one, I can duplicate it out, and then I can tap on this one, hit my rename button, and then go Vox backing. And this just keeps things nice and in order so that you're not going to lose your place. And you'll notice I've done this with all of these. We've got guitar rhythm left, guitar rhythm right, and I've got different types of guitars. Now they're both my Les Paul, so it doesn't actually match what we use. But if you're using different types of guitars, you can change the icon to whatever you want, which we'll show you in a minute. And then as we go down here, here's my drums. I've replaced them with a drum. Again, we've got all the drum parts there. Now what I could do, so down here, we've got my organ, which looks like an organ, my evolving colors synth. If I wanted a different icon here, for instance, I can actually tap on that, and instead of renaming it there, we can come down to the end one and tap on icons, and then let's just say I use this. I want that to be that icon. That's going to look cool. And then I got these pop strings. So what I could do is go to icons and strings and then just put that one there. Even though it's a synth string sound, I know that, but it's just going to prompt me that, yeah, when I'm coming in here, I don't have to come over here and look at the name and try and work out what's what. I can just go, yep, that's definitely my synth. That's definitely my strings. This one's this lead instrument thing that's going on down here. So that's all cool there. And again, I'd probably come back here and this is helping me, by the way. I wanted to do this anyway. So I'm like, double bonus. We'll cheat and we'll do it during the show. I can come here, and if I want my backing vocals, I can just use this one. So this way I know that these are now going to be backing vocals. And then if I create more, I can use that same logo there. So yeah, it's just cool. You can come in here, you can rename any of your tracks, you can use your icons, and it just makes your projects a lot cleaner and tidier when you have a whole bunch of tracks that you're working through on a song. So a simple tip this week, but yeah, use your icons and use your naming to keep things clean and neat and tidy in your GarageBand. We'll see if we've got any comments or questions from folks here. Oh, there we go. Jim Sim says, Sim is for Chimeria, pronounced like Sim. Simnera. Jim Sim. I'll remember that. Jim Sim. Jim plays The Sims. Probably doesn't, but that's how I'll remember it. Anyone else do that? Brain checks where you have to say something to yourself and you say it a bunch of times. Jim Sim plays The Sims. I'll never forget it again. There you go, Matthew. Hello to you. Question: have you checked out N-Track for iPad yet? The best door. It's basically Cubasis meets Audio Pro. I haven't, but I had so much positive feedback. So thank you for all those that watched my Cubasis and Audio Pro series. I had so much positive feedback that now I've got people saying you need to check out Core Gadget, you need to check out N-Track Studio, you need to check out Nano Studio. So yeah, maybe later in the year, maybe October, November, December, we'll start checking out some more of those. We've got a lot of big stuff coming up after Songtember, which I'm not quite ready to announce yet, but yeah, it's going to be a busy run to the end of the year. So yes, we'll more about that. But yeah, I do definitely want to check out some more. So yeah, watch this space because yeah, I'm caught between two things here. To be honest, is that I still want to keep creating music. I've said this before, but I think a lot of folks are more into the tech of the music creation than the actual music creation, and I love both. But I don't ever want to get to a point where I'm completely sacrificing my creations or my creative process or actual music making just to talk about the tech. So I want to make sure, and if you need to call me on this, if you're like, Pete, it's been 6 months since you've actually released a song, buddy, you might want to actually get back to music, then yeah, I want to make sure that you do that because it's very easy, it's very tempting to get all distracted by all the gear and the gadgets and the stuff and the apps and not actually produce anything. It's a real trap. We've all been there, right? The old the gear acquisition syndrome kicks in big time and you end up spending all your time and money on the things, not actually creating music. So there is that. Righty dokie. I like this from Timothy. Says, my daughter came downstairs today and she wants an iPad for her video editing and photo work. Should she go with the Pro? Yeah, so it's a really good question. I'll only direct you back to my recommendations over on the Studio Live Today iPad guide. So studiolivetoday.com/iPad. I think the new Air looks like it's going to be that middle range, and I think that's going to be a great. I think my daughter will be the same. I think she'll probably end up getting the new Air because it's got nice cameras, fast processor, colors, which is important to some folks, and it's got the USB-C connectivity. It's just going to be, I think, the perfect balance. You're not paying the $1,000 plus that you're going to be paying for an Air for a Pro, but you're not going to be limited by some of the functionality of the original iPad either. So I think Apple are pretty smart with this. They've given it's almost like a Pro Lite. They'll never call it that, but it's like the entry level. It's to get you into the Pro world. So yeah, I think it's going to be a decent thing. And there you go. Jade has once again dropped that one there. Hello to Mike says GarageBand is a great choice for iPad users who are also Logic Pro X users, as transferring projects is fluid. 100%. Keep in mind though that transferring projects from iOS to Logic Pro X or to GarageBand Mac is fine. Transferring them back doesn't work. There's ways around it. You can transfer the stems. You can send things. Yeah, you can't actually do that. Oh, and Timothy says, yeah, you're awesome, Pete. Get out that viola. I know. I mentioned on a recent show, I think when I was interviewing Gary Hubbs recently, that I was voted the number one viola player in my primary school, and that was because I was the only viola player in my primary school. But sadly, haven't picked up a viola in probably 30 years, maybe. Maybe that's a project, a midlife crisis project. I can regain my viola playing skills that I never really had. Righty dokie, we're running long here, so I better continue on because we've only got a few minutes left, and we've got a plugin or app of the week to talk about here. And I'm going to bring up the iPad screen again to demonstrate this one, because one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do you convert files? It's usually how do you convert something to an MP3, but sometimes it's I've got a 32-bit file I want to convert, or I want to convert my GarageBand project to another file type for whatever reason. Maybe you need a 16-bit master file for somewhere like a Muse that only accepts 16-bit files. Well, I thought I would show you the way that I approach this, and we'll do it by first of all exporting my Songtember project. So here's what we'll do. We'll tap the select button. We'll select my Songtember project. We'll hit the share button in the bottom left. We'll share it as a song. And here's the options we have through Apple. So you'll always want to go uncompressed 44.1 24-bit. I don't like the idea of doing lower quality here. Unless you just say flicking it to someone for a quick listen, maybe I'd go with like a 192 or 256. If, say, I'm sending it to Jade Star, which I do often, for some feedback on something via Messenger, well then, yeah, I'll do something like that. But anytime I'm using it for anything, start with the highest quality audio and then convert down. That way you know you've always got that best quality version there. So, all right, we'll hit the share button and it'll pop up here. There is Jade Star. I told you I share stuff with Jade a lot. She's there. Always hit open in here. Remember, we want to hit open in because this is going to actually export it and process the song. Hopefully it actually works here. It'd be funny if GarageBand just spits the dummy here and says, yeah, no, export failed because of some plugin thing. You'll see then, though, that that's a real thing that actually happens. Coffee break while we wait for this. Just a spoiler alert, but Voice Record Pro 7 is the app we're going to be using. It is free. It is awesome. It is my go-to file conversion. It's not specifically a file converting app, and this is why people get sort of tripped up by it, but it is the best file converting app that I have come across, and it's also a mighty fine voice recorder. So I may or may not have recorded various live events with Voice Record Pro 7 because it just does a good job. Got some nice VU meters in there. I'm just stalling for time, right? Because I should have chosen a smaller song to export, not a 20-track giant 4-minute song. But we should start getting some movement here soon. But yeah, Voice Record Pro 7. In fact, why don't I jump into the App Store? I'll bring this up and then I'll show you where it is and what it looks like. Whoop, wrong keyboard. App Store, Voice Record Pro 7, because there's kind of two versions and they're almost exactly the same, except they just have a slightly different vision. Like they just look slightly different, but the one that I use and the one that I recommend looks a little bit like this. Let's bring it on across. There it is. So Voice Record Pro 7, a fully featured sound recorder. That's what it looks like. It's kind of a weird old school vibe. Yeah, it looks a little bit strange, but yeah, you can see you got cool VU meters and you've got a bunch of options for things that you can do there, which is what we're going to show you now. So if we we pop that down, we can see that, yes, we are now here and we're ready to go. So I'm going to save this to my files. We'll just tap save to files and it will pop this one up. Now, I'll just throw it in my downloads folder, only because that's, I don't have it here on my iPad. That's on my iCloud Drive. Downloads, just because it's an easy place to find. He says taking a long time to find it. So we're going to save that in. That's saved into my files as a WAV file now, yeah? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over to my Files app, which is the handiest app in all of iOS. Under my favorites is Downloads there. We're going to tap on that one. There it is. There's our WAV file, and it's uploading to the cloud as we speak for security purposes. So that is ready to start processing. Now, all we need to do to start converting this is, again, select it. Now, you can do this straight from GarageBand, but in case you've got a WAV file or any other sort of file, let's say you brought in a WAV file to use as a sample, but you bring it into GarageBand and it says, that's a 32-bit sample. GarageBand only supports 24-bit. What do? Well, you do this. So we select the file, we tap share in the bottom left. This time around, we're going to come across here. Now, these are all your different apps that you can use, right? So if you come across to the right-hand side and tap on more, it's actually going to give you a list of all of your different apps. And if we scroll on down, we should find copy to voice record 7. There it is, copy to voice record 7. In fact, what I'm going to do, I haven't set it up on this iPad because I haven't done much converting in the last few months. I'm going to tap edit and I'm going to hit the plus button there. This is going to add it to my commonly used apps. So this will push it up to the top here. And now I can actually tap on that one and it's going to open up Voice Record Pro. It'll do a little audio engine calibration, and then there you go, boom, it's ready to go. And this is full featured. The only thing that you pay with is this little window down the bottom here, which it's unobtrusive, no big video ads that pop up, nothing like that. You just have to look at a little Spotify ad down the bottom. Pretty cool, yeah? So here is the file that we've got here, and it's a WAV file. You can see 69 megabytes, 4 minutes 21. It's a WAV file. We can come in here. If I turn up the volume coming out of here, we should be able to play it. We'll just hit the play button there. It's going to start playing. And you've got a whole bunch of cool stuff here which you can play with, like playback speed, you've got playback view. It's not coming through my audio for some reason. Yeah, I don't think I've got my audio set up here. So sorry, you're going to have to just imagine that that is playing. But you can see there from the VU meters that it is playing along there. Wonder why that's not coming out. Might just be this app. I'm just going to unplug and plug back in. But yeah, I'll show you afterwards when we get back. Oh, there it is. We've lost the screen, but we've got the audio. Let's bring the screen back. Come on back. We want both. Yeah. Oh, there you go. There's a weird. Looks like there's a weird little bug in here that when you're sharing the screen, it doesn't allow you to do that. You can have one or the other. It's like you can have the screen. Let's bring it back. You can have the screen or the audio, but that's okay. Not many of you will be happening to use Reflector 3 whilst trying to do this process, but that you can hear that it is definitely playing the audio. So what you can do here, well, you can kind of do everything. Obviously, it's a very nice player in there with your VU meters and everything going on there, but if we stop that, these are where all of the cool things come in. You can do a bunch of things here. You can save them, you can share them, you can convert them. But here's the thing that you want to check out. You want to come down the bottom to here. Now, yes, there's convert to MP3, convert to MP4, but I'll show you the advanced converter because this is where the cool stuff is. And if you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way, come into here. So you've got your presets there that we looked at before. We're going to tap preset though. If we wanted to, I've already got this high quality MP3 preset set up, but what you'll notice here is if we just come back to here, what we can do is you can select your file format. So you can choose MP4, MP3, a straight WAV file, and is that it? Yeah, well, that's all. That's all you ever really need. So say we want an MP3 file, but then instead of match source here for settings, we can change this. So we can change the sample rate, we can change the bit rate, we can change it from stereo to mono, which is very handy as well, and we can change the encode quality from low to minimum all the way up to high or to maximum. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we can actually do in here, which is really handy. So if we go say to the WAV file here, here's where we can save it to mono. So let's say you've got a stereo wave file, but you want to make it mono and then bring it back in here. We can make sure that it's going to be a 24-bit mono 44.1 wave file. This is going to work perfectly in GarageBand. And if our original source was 32-bit, we can actually downsample it down to 24-bit, meaning we can use it in our project. So that's super handy. But yeah, again, if we wanted it to be MP3, we just go with that. We check all of our settings, maximum, we're all good. There's our estimated file size, and we hit convert. And it goes away and does its thing. So you can see there's the WAV file. It's converting it. It's going to convert it. It's going to be about 11 meg file once it converts it. And look, the time it takes here will depend on the quality you go with, but you can see here the 320 kilobit MP3 is going to take probably about 60 seconds total to convert this, and then we will have our MP3 file. So all of this is completely free. Remember, we've just used GarageBand to create our music. We've used the Files app in iOS 13.6, which could be iOS 14 soon, and then we've just sent that over into Voice Record Pro 7. So we've used 3 100% free apps that work on pretty much anything. All of these actually work in iOS 12, so you could be using a really old iPhone or iPad and still be doing all of this stuff. I'm realizing now I should have selected a lower quality because I'm not actually going to be using this file, but we're more than halfway there now, so it's all good. But yeah, the quality will depend on how long it will actually take to convert. So we'll wait for this to finish converting, which will only be about another 20 seconds. Jade has popped a link there, and I will do the same in the description for the Voice Record Pro 7 app. I think I need to do a refreshed video just showing this process because, again, I get asked about this a lot from folks, especially those that have a bunch of samples and they may want to convert them from one format to another, or like I say, from 32-bit files down to 24-bit or 16-bit. And the same with sample rates. I know Jade's had some challenges with this lately. Sometimes when you're using different platforms, and some are at, traditionally it's 44.1, so 44,100 versus a 48,000 sampling rate, then you're going to get some inconsistencies between those. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you are using this, it can be handy for that. There you go. Has been successfully converted. So we're good to go. Here's our new file. So if we hit the back button in the top left here, we'll come back here. There's our original file. There's our original file, the WAV file. There's our MP3. There's our MP3 file. Charming, Pete. There's our MP3 file. So how do we now get this out? Well, simple. We just tap on that MP3 file. And now if we scroll on down, this is where it's a little bit non-intuitive. To export it, we actually want to go to Activities and AirDrop. So if we tap on Activities and AirDrop, this is basically like the Save To or the Send To, that share sheet feature. You can send it as a movie. That's another cool feature. We'll show you that another day, but we can do it as an audio file, and boom, we're back here in this exact same position. So we can send it to a bunch of different places, or we can simply just save it to files. So we'll save to files. We'll pop it straight back in that download folder, like so. We'll come back to our Files app here. It's still doing this thing from before, but there you go. We've now got these two files here. You can see you've got the 69 megabyte file there, and we've got a 9.1 megabyte MP3 file. Now we'll see if it's going to play nicely and actually play this. If we tap this and hit play, is that going to come through our speakers properly? No, it's still having puppies. It's still not liking the fact that I'm trying to play and do everything. But yes, trust me that it does work and it is actually playing. You can see the waveform down there. It's all good. So if you want to convert your WAV files to MP3 files to different bit rate, different bit depth, this is so useful for everything. For free, again. Audio Share is a great app, and that's only about $3. That does a lot of this stuff as well. But if you want to do things 100% on the cheap or on the free, then Voice Record Pro 7 is the one you want to check out. Alrighty, we'll finish up here and see if we've got any final questions, and then we're 7 minutes over. Try to keep these shows to 30 minutes. We are 7 minutes over. I've got our resource of the week, but I'll just check in with the folks here. Maury P says, does anyone think Logic Pro X will come to iPad in the full version? Yeah, so an interesting one. I could probably talk another 10 minutes on that one, but the way I think it's going to be is that the next version of Logic will be designed for the Apple Silicon, which is going to be in the new line of Macs, and it happens to use the same chip and the same infrastructure as the iPad Pro. So I think we're going to see universal apps in the future. So I don't think they're going to make an iOS specific Logic version, but I think they are going to make a future Mac slash iOS software. It's going to all become this one hybrid universe in the future. Hello to Josephine Desmet. Has a question here. Do you believe that the music niche on YouTube is saturated or too saturated? It's a really interesting question, isn't it? I think the music overall, there's a lot of music stuff, but I think the beauty part is that there are, as you put there are the niches, and there's a lot of room to move in that. So if you look at the GarageBand music niche in particular, you got Lewin Barringer, you got Patrick at the GarageBand Guide, Dean Davis, Dan Baker, myself, Sion, you got Shazam, the iPad producer, you've got Henny to Business. Like, there's a lot of folks that are just producing stuff in like GarageBand or mobile-based recording. And I think there's a lot of room. Like, we all do things very differently. So I think, like most things, and like if you're creating music yourself or if you're creating music-based content, I think it's about what you do differently. So yeah, if I tried to have a channel that was exactly like Davey504, I'm not going to do so well, because Davey504 does his thing. But yeah, I think if folks do their thing, I think that there's room for everyone. I think that's the beauty part. There's no barrier to entry here, which creates a great opportunity, but like you say, also creates some saturation at times. But if you're sending a message that is unique and different and folks want to listen to, and you're finding your niche, then I think you're fine for everyone to have their opportunity. Jade Star will be kicking off in 20 minutes, probably 15 now. No, about 20. How to app. So she'll be looking at the 8180. Oh, I love the Nembrini 8180. Is a ridiculously cool guitar amp sim. So tune in for that one. Definitely be checking that out myself. Maury says, I'm hanging out for an iPad Air 4 with 256 storage. I'm not too keen on Dropbox or iCloud storage. Yeah, I hear you. My recommendation is always to do that. People say, oh, I want to go for the more power, but I can only afford the 64 gig or the 32 gig. I'll generally say, to be honest, you'll regret not having that storage space and having to constantly be worrying about files. The reason I got the 512 gig iPad Pro and went the 11 inch instead of something like the 128 or 256 gig in the 12.9 inch is that I knew that sitting here right now, I would be super happy that I got half a terabyte of storage. I just never have to think about it compared to constantly managing files. So I hear you 100%. Alrighty, yep, I think we're done. I think I'm going to have to run away and finish up here, but thank you everyone for being here. Hope you enjoyed the shows over the weekend. If you've caught a bunch of them, and I know many of you have, thank you for your support. Don't forget, you can go to studiolivetoday.com, check out the merch store, studiolivetoday.com/merch if you want a t-shirt or a mug. And I did miss my my resource of the week, which I already showed you. So if you weren't here earlier, the resource of the week for this week was my iPad user guide, my iPad buyer's guide. I'll just show you one more quick time here over on the screen. It is this one here. If you go to studiolivetoday.com/iPad, if you are in the market for a new iPad, it's linked down in the description there. You can check out my videos, my suggested links there. Those are affiliate links, meaning if you do make a purchase through them, they break off a small chunk and send it to me to support the channel. So thank you for everyone who has done that in the past. And if you want to check it out, it's all free to use. There's no additional cost for you to use that. I just put all the information there in one handy dandy place. So if you're looking to buy an iPad, you can do it there. Thanks for being here, folks. I hope you have a great day. Keep creating. Be kind to yourself and to others. And I'll see